Welcome to Gorilla Sports Off Court. I am Liv Moods, and in just a moment, joined by Braun and Crystal, and this is presented by Trusted American Mortgage. Trusted American salary-based mortgage consultants want to help you get into a better interest rate and lower your monthly payments. So head to trustedamerican.com to see how they can help you save some money today.
Hello and welcome in.
Please do not leave your luggage unattended on the station.
Welcome to the show.
Hello, everybody, and welcome in. I am on the X, the good old-fashioned X here, letting everybody know that we are live, BK. BK, how was your early morning flight? You were up, before I was even probably thinking about getting up. My gosh.
Yeah, and I got to shout out our esteemed videographer and producer of this show, Jason Thompson, a.k.a. Jet. He never went to bed. I slept like 3 hours at the Airbnb we were staying at in Oklahoma City. We got into an Uber Lyft at 4:40 a.m. at the airport at 5 a.m. Hit up Freddy's Steak Burgers, which they only do breakfast at the airport. They don't do it if you go to regular Freddy's and frozen custard and all that. They just do burgers. But had a breakfast sandwich. Slept a little bit on the plane, not as much as I wanted. Watched a little bit of the F1 show on Netflix that I'm almost done with, and took a little nap. And here I am. And I just talked to Nate for an hour, talking some football. So no worse for the wear. After you and I get done chatting, Jet and I are going to head over to Ball Arena where David Adelman will talk.
Yes.
So, yeah, full day. And then tomorrow, Nuggets.
Listen,
Game 3.
You're working through exhaustion. Hopefully that's exactly what the Denver Nuggets have planned in game 3, because I would imagine, going straight from a 7-game series to playing the Oklahoma City Thunder. I mean, I couldn't think of a more exhausting couple of weeks for this Denver Nuggets team. But at the end of the day, at this stage of the playoffs, everybody's a little tired. Everybody's a little banged up. I'm going to spend a little bit of time talking with you today, BK, about MPJ. I feel like there's a lot of conversations around him right now specifically because although every Denver Nugget is tired right now, MPJ is a little bit of a different situation because he's also battling injury. Michael Porter Jr. has been dealing with some foot and leg stuff. Quietly, he's been dealing with that for most of the season. He's also got a joint sprain injury to his shoulder that he actually got last series against the Clippers. But BK, I want to know from you, Michael Porter Jr., obviously we know the value of him. We know that when he's on, it really makes this Denver Nuggets team kind of unstoppable when you get offensive production from Michael Porter Jr. and even defensive production. We know his size can be a huge advantage for this Denver Nuggets team. But is there a world where Michael Porter Jr.'s injury is now becoming a liability? I think it's very admirable when you're playing through injury, but only when it's beneficial to the team. When it starts to hurt the team, I think that's when you run into issues and you have to make game time decisions. Do you think we'll see limited minutes from Michael Porter Jr. in game 3 based on what we've seen from him in game 1 and game 2?
I don't think we can predict the limited minutes. I mean, we can ask David Adelman about that. I think that he will play as part of the rotation based on how productive he's being and how much he can help the team. And so I didn't really ask him this question. And I don't know if you want to play some of his answers from last night talking about it. And then I even asked Aaron Gordon about it. Or I didn't ask Aaron Gordon. I wanted to, but MPJ was standing right there. So it's kind of, sometimes you'll ask about the guy when they're right next to him, but other times you just like, what's he going to say? I asked Joker about it. And Joker's like, look, he's playing through it. He's clearly hurt, but it's not an excuse, which is something that MPJ kept saying. So I think it really is game by game, day by day. But the question that I want to ask you that I didn't really ask him or even ask Adelman, maybe that's the question I'll ask today, let's just make up a percentage. We can do this together. Liv, what do you think his percentage is right now?
Michael Porter Jr.'s?
If 100 is obviously start of the year, nothing's really bothering him. He's obviously always got the back and the foot thing, but like October, he's feeling good coming out of camp. What's his percentage today compared to what everyone else can be? Like, so if Joker is 98% because of his elbow, Jamal's 98, they're all 100% today's version of a whole season. SGA is 100%, Jalen Williams 100%. What percentage is Michael Porter Jr. compared to the other players.
When I think about it from a realistic standpoint, he's got one arm and one leg right now. So I would say 50%. I would say he's 50% BK, because we know that, so much of his game is his size vertically and horizontally. And when you're down a leg and down an arm, I would say he's at 50 right now. That's how it appears anyway. I mean, sometimes his games, it appears he might be lower than 50, but I would say just based off of the injuries we know he has, and those are just the ones we know he has, I would say he's probably 50% right now compared to the other players in this series.
And I'll add this caveat to this part of the conversation. You're not going to meet anyone that won't tell you that everything in life is really 50%. Is a shot going to go in? Either it is or it isn't. I realize data will then say, oh, well, every time that this person shoots a free throw, they make 8 out of 10. So they're actually 80%. But no, it's like, I'm either going to be president or I'm not, 50%. I'm either going to go home with this person I just met at the bar or I'm not. I have a 50% chance. So everything in life is truly 50-50. The only reason I'm going to say he's a little higher than that, but not by a lot, I think he's closer to like 70%.
Okay.
And because he is using his left arm to get his shot off, but he said it's affecting him. And obviously the two-handed rebound, that's something David Adelman stressed, that you have to rebound with two hands against this team, is something he's unable to do pretty consistently.
Right.
And then the leg thing he's kind of dealt with all year.
Mm-hmm.
So whatever percentage, or certainly in recent months, even with the brace being broken, and I don't know to what level it's been fixed, that's probably worth asking. So I'm going to round up to 70-ish%. Is a 70 to 75% MPJ better than Julian Strother, Peyton Watson, more minutes?
Well, let me ask you this. Even if he is 70, 75%, let's be honest, BK, he doesn't look 70 to 75%. So I think what's hard for myself and for a lot of Nuggets fans is he may be more healthy than we think, in terms of like, because there's some Nuggets fans, and myself included, that are like, should he even be playing? I think he feels like, yes, I'm good. My team needs me. I'm good. I can push through this. But it doesn't always look that way in games. I think he may physically feel 70 to 75, but some of the production we're getting out of him is more reflective of 50-40 than it is 70-80. And so that's what's hard, is he's on the other side of that halfway point in sometimes his performance and how it looks. And so going based off of how I feel right now, I do think you get more out of a healthy young Peyton Watson than you do with a 70-75% Michael Porter Jr., because we just haven't seen it from him. Even if he does feel like he's able to do it, we haven't seen it yet. That's what I struggle with.
Yeah, and so maybe coming home tomorrow with whatever he has left in his tank currently, you get a better performance from him, which means he's not going to make 2 threes. He's going to make 4 out of 7, 5 out of 9, one of those kind of games, even 3 out of 6, kind of, with a couple of putbacks and a run out or two where he just goes up with one hand and finishes with a layup or an easy dunk, and is more helpful on the glass and impactful defensively. And so I think that as the series goes on, David Adelman is going to have to do that calculus of, is MPJ helping us or hurting us? Because when he didn't perform well, obviously he was dealing with the foot thing, but we didn't perform well in game 1, or, really hardly at all, but then came back and had a strong game 2. You thought, okay, well, this is just kind of riding the wave. But now when you introduce the shoulder injury with it, and I guess that happened in game 2, if my math is right, against the Clippers, then it is kind of a delicate balancing act. So I think that that's probably, because when you look at things that they can do better, making more threes is going to be a big part of it, and being better on the glass. Now, he also had the same level of shoulder pain in game 1 as game 2. And look at how much better OKC just rebounded in game 2,
right,
as opposed to game 1 where Denver out-rebounded by 20. And I understand Joker was a big part of that. But so it's just not as cut and dry as, if it's January, that's easy. Just get him off the court. And he would take himself off the court. This is the playoffs. Is a veteran who can make open threes as well as anyone and can keep the Thunder defense honest. Is he more valuable than a younger guy, or even starting Russ and playing Russ even more than he's already playing?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's obviously value to starting Russell Westbrook just because of the pace and the energy that he brings. We know how valuable that is. I think a lot of people share the same feeling that we've got 3 clips we're going to play, 3 different players we're going to hear from, BK, CB being one. And I think a lot of people felt like he struggled last game. So we can hear from him in just a moment. And then I think there's people that kind of feel like Jokic and AG are the only two that are really consistent, reliable, if you will, in this series. We actually have clips, BK, of Aaron Gordon and Nikola Jokic. We're going to run Aaron Gordon first. Anything that you want to say, because I know you were there, you were getting us all this footage, anything you want to say about AG and chatting with him last night before we run this clip for everybody?
Well, I think that you'll get the sense, because when you hear that he's the soul of the team, his sentiment was echoed throughout. That's the one thing, is these guys are often on the same page, for better or worse. Their messaging, I know some of it's just being a veteran, but their messaging is always kind of the same, man to man.
Yep.
Even guys that haven't been here as long. And their themes that they talk about, whether it was obviously Michael Malone forever and now here under David Adelman, oh, we need to do these 3 things better. We need to do these 5 things better. So you'll hear the frustration of a guy who, coming off such a big win, knows that this was an unacceptable performance, even if you thought, oh, okay, so he's going to have a good chance to bounce back. They're the best team in the West record-wise and have a ton of talent and youth. But you can just hear kind of the frustration with how they lost, or, how the game kind of played out and got away from them.
Absolutely. Well, let's hear from the man, the myth, the legend, the game winner in game 1, and obviously a crucial part to this Nuggets team, both offensively and defensively. Here is Aaron Gordon.
Physicality. Coach said you guys were reactionary and kind of climbing uphill, if you will. How do you respond in game 3 to their physicality?
Well, we got to come out with a better mindset, set the tone. Understand that's what they're looking to do is, kind of like impose their will. So can't allow them to do that.
From a fundamental basketball standpoint, what's the biggest concern in terms of things you need to fix for game 3?
Yeah, just owning your spot. That's part of fundamentals. Using a little bit of deception, like V cuts, L cuts. Taking them lower than you need to go to get to the spot on the floor. So just setups in general, I think that's going to contribute to fundamentals. Ball screening is going to be important. Rip throughs, just back to basics.
Coach said he didn't want to flush this one. How do you use this as motivation?
Well, honestly, no loss feels good. Not entirely sure.
How can you draw on experience, whether it was, the loss to the Clippers in game 3 or last year, some tough playoff losses, and showing y'all can bounce back? Can you draw on that experience, I guess?
Sure. I like the way this team responds, so I'm excited for game 3.
How do you get them off of Jokic from being so physical? As teammates, can you do that through schemes and picks and ways to get them away from him a little bit?
Yeah, you can, but if they're gonna let them push them and shove them, like 2 hands on them, root them out with the knee, got elbows and all types of stuff they're doing to them that's not necessarily legal. There's not much that you can do. Got to play through it. If they're not going to call it, then they're not going to call it. But, yeah, we can help hit them, but, they're fouling the guy.
You were one of the guys who were kind of arguing that 5th call, that one that Jalen kind of backed into him and they reviewed it. What did you see there?
Yeah, they're calling the second foul almost every time. They're fouling Joker first, and then Joker is reactionary, and they do get the second guy a lot of the times, but they're fouling him. Point blank period throughout the game, and it's the thing where you can't call every foul, or you'd be calling a foul every single play, but they're fouling him. I also mentioned a joke. You got to play through it. He got to play through it. He got to be stronger, be more physical. All of us do. We all got to play through it because they're not going to call a foul every single play. Yeah, it's a very handsy team.
That's not the first team that's tried to do that to him, though, right?
No, but they're letting a lot go.
How beneficial will it to have game 3 and 4 at home now, and taking that first one here?
Very important. Very important. Obviously, we didn't like the outcome of this game, but we did what we came here to do, and that was get home court.
What have you seen from DA in terms of how he's handled or addressed the team after the 2 big losses this postseason?
DA's been excellent.
Was there any thought as to you guys not wanting to play in the third quarter, or did you guys want to be out there even with the margin where it was at that point?
No, we didn't think about that.
How much does rust mean to you guys against a team like this that extends pressure and, having a guy that can just kind of get downhill on a straight line?
Huge. Russ has been huge for us all year long, so we expect him to continue to play that way.
And can you describe the mental toughness, the mental fortitude that it takes to be able to keep your composure and play through that physicality?
Yeah, absolutely. In a game you get smoked by 40, it's not the referees, it's not the officiating. So we got to forget about that in the first place. So we just need to continue to execute, be sharp, be strong. And just focus on our game.
Thanks, AJ. Appreciate it.
BK, I love the self-awareness of Aaron Gordon and really of this entire Nuggets team. We heard from MPJ last night where he talked about, hey, my injury is no excuse. I have to be better. Aaron Gordon, hey, we can't blame officiating when you lose by 40 something. It's just not, it's not a reasonable excuse, the officiating. But Aaron Gordon did talk about the fact that OKC is a handsy team and there's certain things that get let go, and the way in which OKC is defending Nikola Jokic is pretty aggressive, because I just don't think that there is an answer for Nikola Jokic for a lot of teams. That seems to be their go-to. And there are calls that get missed on both sides. Of course, we know this, but David Adelman also talked last night about the fact that you can't join the party late. You have to start playing that physical game the same way OKC does. You have to start the game that way if you're the Denver Nuggets. Do you anticipate seeing a little more physicality and aggression from the Denver Nuggets early in Game 3?
Absolutely, and I think Vegas does too, because I checked.
Yeah.
And
what do they say? What is Vegas
I
saying?
looked at you're not going to be that surprised, but they are still underdogs. Do you want to guess the line?
Yeah. I'm going to guess 6.5.
4.5.
Oh.
So
Okay.
I think there's several things that factor in. You're back home.
Yeah.
So there's just the comfort of being home, but then being in that gym, having the crowd, knowing that they do play really well at home, including the last time they were here. So it may not be as dominant as it once was in the George Karl era when they went 39-3 or whatever it was that year, 38-3. But still, they win more games than they lose at home. Just like they do on the road too. But they'll come in refocused, and they probably don't let the game get away. So yeah, I think that you will see similar to what you saw in Game 1, a better start than we got last night in OKC, and that's because of comfortability and everything else that goes with just being back home.
Can we expect more from a guy like Christian Braun? We're going to hear from him. We've got a little over 2 minutes of him talking in the locker room last night. It felt like he was struggling a little bit last night, defensively, offensively, whatever. We were seeing such great things from him in the Clippers series. But OKC is just a different team. They've got different talent. You have to play a different game. But I do think CB is the type of player that is exceptionally competitive. He brings that energy every night, but he also is very capable of adjusting and making adjustments. And I would imagine we see that from him in Game 3. Before we play his clip, can you anticipate a little bit more either confidence or comfortability from CB in Game 3?
Yeah, look, he's obviously shown that he can go on the road and play big in big spots, and we'll look back to the finals. But he certainly shoots the ball better at home. He just does.
Yeah.
It's just a fact. And so he wasn't taking bad shots last night. They just weren't going in. He wasn't throwing up air balls, but they just weren't going in. There were some wide open looks. And you talk about that self-awareness that you mentioned as we heard AG talk. You'll hear it from Christian Braun as well. The only thing, and I didn't bring it up to him last night because it was coming off a loss, and I don't know how tight the shot is on him. He's wearing what I assume is a pretty expensive, like, bay or light off-white hoodie, but it looks like it's from the Bill Belichick collection and that it's tattered and torn. Like if you saw those clips of Belichick on,
I'm worried about Belichick.
On
Seriously.
60 Minutes, he's got a Navy sweatshirt that's probably from when his dad actually coached there in the 60s or whatever it was. But that was my only issue with CB's. I mean, it's still a cool shirt. I'm just like, how much was that? $500 in my head.
Okay, you're like my granddad. Every time I wear ripped jeans, he's like, "Did you get those half off because of all the holes?"
Look, that's an age-old joke that older people like to bust on, or even people of your same age when they look at. But it's overemphasized. Ripped jeans is a look, even ones that are really ripped. I'm not
Right.
saying tattered and torn looking shirts, but assuming that the shot that Jet has of CB is wide enough, that's what you'll see. But most importantly, you will hear the self-awareness about him needing to be better offensively and defensively, because he's the first line of defense on SGA most times, and he understands that they didn't live up to their standard on either side of the ball. So that's what you appreciate about really, like you said, everybody on this team, but Christian Braun, especially as a young player, to have no problem saying, yeah, I need to do these things better.
I love it. Well, let's hear from him right now. Here is CB following last night's blowout loss for the Denver Nuggets.
Thanks. Sorry.
Christian, when you think about why you lost this game, what comes to mind?
We just got, they were more physical than us. I don't think we did anything we needed to do, to win a basketball game from physicality, defensive standpoint. We just were really bad. And I've said this before, that's on me, that's my job, so I'll be better.
How do you refocus and regroup for Game 3,
Well,
personally?
Yeah, you get punched in your mouth like that, you only have one option. We got to be better on both ends, but I think just the physicality and, like I said, they kind of punked us, from the start, and we can't let that happen again.
What do you make of Joker fouling out in the third quarter and some of the last couple calls there?
I think it was, maybe frustration and, being physical and those things, but I don't think much of it. We were getting beat pretty bad. He fouled out. That's all it was.
How do you describe the way he's being defended in this series?
They're doing a good job. They're surrounding him like there's 4 or 5 people. There's, all their eyes are on him at all times, and they're in the lane. They're in the passing lanes. They're physical. That's who they are. We knew that. Coming in, but they did a lot better job than we did today. It was pretty obvious.
You talked about experience being a big key to y'all winning Game 1 and staying in it late. Can you draw on some past experiences of some tough playoff losses, including one last round, to be able to turn the page?
Yeah, but I think it's just a pride thing. I don't think it's, whatever it is. We got beat bad, and like I said, you got to respond, and I know we will. We'll be back at home, but we got to be better. We got to be better on both ends. Our mentality's got to be better, and we got to come ready to play.
How have you seen DA handle the postgame after the 2 big losses?
He's honest. He's great. That's just who he is. He's an honest, an honest coach, and he tells you what you need to hear. And we obviously knew. Coming in the locker room, everybody knew what we needed to be better at. But obviously, DA came in and told us exactly what we needed to hear. And now it's our job to bounce back and be ready.
Thanks, B.
I loved the comments he made about defending Nikola Jokic well in this series. That's really what it is. They're finding answers for him, or attempting to, but I expect more from Jokic in Game 3, not because I don't think he was giving full effort in Game 2, but I do think Jokic, there's only so many different ways you can stop Nikola Jokic, and I just think that when he's back at home after humiliation, being the best player in the world, I anticipate Nikola Jokic silencing the haters. It was unbelievable to me how many different tweets I was getting last night, BK, of people saying, this is the best player in the world, ? As if best players in the world don't have bad games or get double, triple teamed and get slowed down. My opinion has not changed about Nikola Jokic, and yours shouldn't either. He is the best player in the world. Despite Game 2, game whatever, I don't really care. Nikola Jokic is still the best player in the world, and I would imagine after humiliation, you get him back home, and you're going to see a lot more life in Nikola Jokic. And just like OKC made adjustments on how to slow him down, he will make adjustments on how to continue being the best basketball player in the world. BK, what do you think we're going to see from him in Game 3?
I think you'll just see a more focused, determined Joker. He doesn't pay attention to his stat line. He just pays attention to wins and losses.
Yep.
And knows that if he's playing the right way and the team around him is doing the right things, they're going to be in position to win a game. I just looked up his line again, 17, 8, and 6. Almost every player other than SGA would also take that stat line.
Of course.
And SGA hasn't had too many games where he has the 8 and 6 to go with plenty of points. We know he's obviously, the top scorer in the league this year or whatever, but Joker's also right there. And so, yeah, he didn't score 30 points or 40 points or whatever, but you could sense the frustration. The game really did get away from them so early that they can only do so much to even try to keep it close. And I think Joker probably, we used to hear about LeBron a couple of years ago, really understanding his efficiency. And I'm talking about before we got into the full flopping LeBron and the sometimes play defense, sometimes not LeBron, who's now closer, he's at the end basically, but he's 40. But I'm talking about like 32, 33-year-old LeBron who understood just how much energy he needed to exert on both ends of the court, that he didn't take extra steps and didn't go do extra stuff. And I think Joker's kind of that way too. And there's a chance that even though he's getting frustrated, he's not opening a full bag of tricks, knowing that game's not getting any closer because no one was doing anything. So not that he wasn't doing enough to help the team, and he would never admit to that, and he probably doesn't even consciously necessarily do it. But so I chalk up his stat line to being a crappy night for everybody. I understand the criticism. Oh, this is the best player in the world. Fine. Well, SGA had 16 points in their first playoff win over the Grizzlies, and no one got on them. I know they won by 50, but still.
Isn't that funny? No one really gets on. I feel like there is just a weird level of scrutiny that Nikola Jokic faces, and it doesn't make any sense to me. I think if you're a true basketball hoop lover, you just love greatness. You appreciate greatness. And Jokic is the definition of greatness in whatever you want to, I'm not saying greatest of all time, everybody relax, but he is the definition of greatness. So it is so strange to me how quickly people want to discredit Nikola Jokic after, again, a bad game for Nikola Jokic is still a pretty good game when you're looking at stats across the league. Even in nights where you're like, oh, he didn't do a whole lot. He's got a triple-double. He did a lot. But we just get so spoiled rotten watching him play that when it's not a 40-piece triple-double, it's like, oh, yeah, they slowed him down. I mean, you're not mad at the fact that he was still, averaging triple-doubles, whatever that may look like. When SGA had 16 points in game 1 of the Grizzlies series, people weren't talking about it. But when Jokic has 17, we talk about it. It's just an interesting dynamic. And I think true hoop lovers just appreciate greatness. And Jokic is that. If you don't appreciate Nikola Jokic, you don't love basketball. Let's just call it what it is. So I do think we're going to get more from Nikola Jokic because I just think that his basketball IQ is what makes him so special. And he's going to make adjustments around the OKC game plan of slowing him down the same way that they made adjustments to slow him down in the first place. So you just have to trust that Nikola Jokic being as great as he is, that doesn't just happen. It's not like he just figures it out. He's a very smart basketball player. He's exceptionally talented. And I anticipate in game 3, you're going to get a lot more from him. One, because he's capable of that. But 2, I think he's a little extra motivated after such a brutal loss in game 2. I actually said this today, and I want to just remind Nuggets Nation of this. Hear me loud and clear. I was talking with my mom on the phone. Like I said, she's a huge Nuggets fan. She's sad today. Today she's mourning, okay? And here's what I told my mom. I would much rather lose in that fashion than lose in a close game because we know, and this has been a problem for Denver for years and years and years, especially in the postseason. They rely on their talent, or they try to anyway, and they get a little complacent. And when we watch this Denver Nuggets team get complacent, it typically bites them in the butt. So to be humiliated in game 2 after such an incredible win in game 1, now it's forcing them to not be complacent. Now they have to make adjustments. Now they have to figure it out, put their foot on the gas, and continue to stay motivated. Had it been a close loss, I don't know if you would have gotten that out of Denver. So to be humiliated on such a big stage after such a great win in game 1, I think it's exactly what this Nuggets team needed. They're already underestimated in this series. Now you add a little bit of humbling in there and a little bit of embarrassment. And I think that's exactly what this Nuggets team needs before coming back home and hopefully defending home court. I don't know, maybe it's a hot take, but I would much rather, specifically with this Nuggets team, get blown out than have a close game and lose that way, because I do think complacency would follow a close loss. So getting embarrassed, to me, BK, I think there's some benefits there for Denver before they head back home.
Yeah, they've shown that they can bounce back from embarrassing losses, tough losses.
Yeah.
We saw it last series in game 3. That's why I asked AG and CB about it. And certainly last year, game 2, they got blown out in Denver against Minnesota. And then game 6, it was even more laughable. And they bounced back and they were up 20. in Game 7. They didn't get run out of the gym in Game 7. They blew a 20-point lead, and that stunk. They just ran out of gas. I think that was very apparent. But they've shown an ability to respond, even when you look at that record in their back-to-backs this year, that they can dig deep when they need to, and they do well making adjustments, not letting a team do the same thing they did to them last time. And I think about the series with OKC this year, they split. They kind of got run out of the gym in the opener, and then they come back a couple weeks later without Jamal Murray. I'm not sure if AG played in that or not, but I know Jamal didn't, and they win that game. And then fast forward to March, back-to-back games on Sunday. It's close, then it kind of gets away at the end. They bounce back the very next day on Monday and get a win in OKC. So I like Joker's ability to try to solve the test, and I think that obviously the team goes as he goes. I think they'll be a lot better tomorrow. I can't guarantee that they'll win, but I certainly like betting them to cover the 4.5. It just feels like it will be one of those close games. And you are right, though. You'd like to know early that you can shut it down and go to sleep or start your day or move on or whatever, versus it coming down and losing the way, say, the Celtics lost, or fighting in a comeback and then still losing at the end, like being down 20, being down 30, but cutting it to 20, cutting it to 10, cutting it to 8, cutting it to 5, kind of the way it went in Game 6, where Adelman talked about how well, they played to close the game out against the Clippers. It just wasn't enough. And you had Russ make a couple of great plays for both teams, depending on how you slice it. So that can hurt almost more than just getting run out of the building to call it a loss. And knowing that I thought they should have rested more in the third. I thought they would have rested more once they couldn't ever get it anywhere near 20. So that surprised me. I have a question that I want to ask you that I want you to answer maybe after we hear from Joker.
Okay.
So of all the things that went poorly last night, what's like the one thing you'd like to see better in Game 3? So when you talk about the way they were out rebounded, the points off turnover differential, just the turnovers in general, their 3-point shooting, their 3-point defense. So kind of one main thing. And if you want to pick a second thing, because I know we don't like to just pick one thing around here. So why don't you percolate on that? And I will as well, because I came up with a question. I haven't really sifted through the answer just yet in my head, but I know we've got Joker on tap. And again, you hear a very self-aware guy, just like his teammates.
Yeah, no, I agree. I will think on that, and we'll hear from Jokic now. And then after that, I will have my answer for you, BK. So here is Nikola Jokic following last night's blowout loss. Let's check it out.
How would you describe the difference in the start that they came out with versus what you guys done?
Yeah, we didn't. Basically, it was one team playing tonight. Even the turnovers, misses, they were aggressive. They were going by us. They were rebounding the ball. They were just better. They were much better than us today, and that's the score. That's why the score is so bad.
Nikola, how do you deal with their physicality when they're? It seems like you're always getting called reaction. You personally reacting. How do you deal and kind of play through their physicality if they're going to let, especially smaller guys?
Just try to fight for the position as best as you can, and deal with consequences.
And then you fouled out in the third quarter. I think that's the first time you've had that happen in the NBA, at least. Was the last foul out of frustration to get out, or can you just talk about fouling out?
No, it was just, I think I wanted to set a good screen on Jamal because they were so physical, handsy on him, and it happens,
What impact did you feel like Jalen Williams made when they brought him in and had him on you a bit more?
They had him on me even last game, so it was not the big difference in the last game. So he's there to be aggressive, to be into me, so not. He didn't do nothing different. He was doing the same thing what he was doing last game.
Nikola, this is your guys' second big loss of the postseason. What have you seen from David Adelman in terms of handling it?
He handled how it's supposed to be. We need to get better. We need to be better. It's not his fault. I think it's everybody's fault. It's a little bit his fault too. But collectively as a group, we need to be much better to not react to attack them.
Nikola, you guys have had some tough playoff losses, including one last round. Can you draw on that ability to not just forget about the game, but turn the page to the next game and not dwell on the loss?
I think we should not forget about it. I think we should learn from it, and be much better, and where we made the mistakes, we were not being aggressive. We were what we did in the first game, what we did not in the second game. So, so just we need to learn from it.
You obviously had a lot to say to Scott Foster after that fifth foul.
I was just asking. I didn't say nothing. I think I just said I can ask questions.
And I think Russ got a technical earlier in the game too. I think he came over. It looked like he was defending you sort of after Jalen Williams.
Yeah, of course. I mean, Russ is a great teammate. He's always going to be there, and it's always a reaction, So he reacted, and he got a technical. Is it? How to say? Did he deserve it or not? That's not my to talk.
Do you appreciate it though when teammates come over sort of to your defense, and things like that?
Yes, of course.
Nikola, David said that he felt like you guys wanted to go out there and after halftime and still play even as big as the margin.
Yes, of course. I mean, they were aggressive. They were hitting us. We wanted to have a reaction. We just didn't. We were not disciplined, and everybody was kind of doing their own thing. And we cannot win like that. Every single person needs to step up and be better.
Were there any conversations just between players about wanting to?
I mean, we understand. We understand that this is not what we want, of course. So we need to be much better.
I know you mentioned that J. Will didn't necessarily do anything different tonight, but when they are throwing a variety of bigs at you, seems like you always have someone with fresh legs on you. Just how much of a challenge does that present?
I mean, since last 3-4 years, I think that's what team doing to me. So it's not something that I didn't see before.
Nikola, it's clear, and we talked to MPJ, that his shoulder is obviously limiting him. So what's it say about the effort he is giving you, knowing that he can't extend his arms all the way on offense or grabbing a ball off the glass?
I mean, he's fighting. Of course, I think it's a good thing, and we appreciate it. But I think that cannot be excuse. So if that cannot be excused, that's my just opinion.
What are your thoughts on Thunder fans booing Russ for the first time?
Booing Westbrook?
Yes.
When?
Early, like first quarter.
You had a jumper.
Yeah, you had a jumper in the corner.
I don't know. No, that's their problem. I really don't know what to say. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it.
I love that he's just very like, okay, who cares? Like I think what some people take as Nikola Jokic not caring about basketball is him just not caring about the antics around basketball. He absolutely cares about the game. You cannot be as talented as Nikola Jokic is and not care about the game of basketball. He just doesn't care for the extra antics, the fluff, the whatever, like the other entertainment aspects of basketball that make us all so addicted to watch it. That's the part he doesn't care about. The game itself, he absolutely cares. So fans booing Russell Westbrook, he's like, okay, like what is that? That has nothing to do with me, and it really has nothing to do with Westbrook either. So I love his straightforwardness. And BK, I spent some time thinking about what I want them to do better in game 3. And my answer is a little bit of an interesting one because, of course, in a perfect world, what I want to see better in game 3 is make your shot. Offensively, we just couldn't do a whole lot. But we know OKC defensively is exceptional. So you're not going to make every shot. I think the one thing I want to see more of is following your shot, that rebounding. I feel like when the Denver Nuggets lose the rebound battle, it really puts them in a tough spot. We've seen them struggle with perimeter defense. We've seen them not live and die by the three. So the 3-point game is not really their game. We've seen them struggle with turnovers. I don't think those things are going to disappear in game 3. What I want to see more of is follow your shot. Your threes are not always going to land, but follow your shot, get that rebound, give yourself another opportunity to score because they've got the fight in them. They know how to score points. They haven't really struggled with that at all this season. So those second chance points for Denver off of offensive rebounds to me are what are going to make it easier for the Nuggets to win any game in this series. So that's my answer. But of course, in a perfect world, I'd love to see those threes fall and the perimeter defense be perfect and 0 turnovers. But following their shot, I think, will elevate them right from jump.
Well, and we know that OKC is a really good rebounding team.
Yeah.
In general, they weren't in game 1. So I'm kind of there with you. And, we've talked about it a lot throughout the year on post games. There are often just simple metrics you can look at. Is there a huge free throw disparity? Is there a huge 3-point made disparity? Not 3-point shots attempted, but 3-pointers made. And there obviously was a big enough one last night. It wasn't as dramatic as it felt. But I think just the timing of when they were hitting some of those threes and how open they were.
Yeah.
But rebounding and free throws, and the free throws come from attacking downhill. And so that obviously Russ is at the top of that list. But when you're crashing the glass, we're kind of saying the same thing, just differently. But if you're crashing the offensive glass, it's just going to create more traffic in and around the bucket. They got outscored in the paint by 26 points, I think, something like that. And so I think that all of it kind of works together, but it starts with a commitment to rebounding. So that's not just Joker, who we know is wired to always be near the ball. It's certainly Russ, but it is AG. It is MPJ when he's out there. It's even Jamal Murray and Christian Braun more than we've seen. And obviously guys like DJ and Peyton Watson when they're on the floor. So just a commitment to rebounding, but also understanding that they are going to run out. So if you don't get the rebound, that you have to get back.
Yep.
And so I know it's kind of pick your poison, but understand if you're committing to the rebound, that's going to give you a better chance of at least generating more offense versus if you just give up the rebound and they still come down and run their good offense.
I agree 100%. Okay, BK, I know we've got to let you get out of here shortly because you've got to go over to Ball Arena and hear from Coach Adelman. Final thoughts on your prediction for tomorrow. Is it Denver money line? Should we be sprinkling on Denver Nuggets money line, BK? I feel like I have to.
Well, between that and I think Joker's overs across the board feel good. Certainly Joker to get a triple-double, but north of 30 points. I think Jamal will shoot even better at home. MPJ's number is going to be so low that it might be worth looking at. CB too.
I was going to say CB might be an interesting one because based on games 1 and games 2, Vegas may not see they may not be giving CB that at-home credit. When he's home, he does shoot better. So I might sprinkle on CB's over because I do think that line might be a little lower than what we saw in the regular season and in the first series.
And you may not need as much from Russ either. So Russ's number, I'm not saying bet and under, but Russ's, what did he score? 20 and 18 in the first 2 games, something like that. I know he had 8, I think he had 18 last night. He may end up with 12 or 14 because you don't need
maybe his under is not a bad idea.
Potentially. I hate betting unders. I'm fine if you don't bet.
It makes sports so unfun.
It's just unsportsmanlike. Even when you're betting it for
it is
for a team, maybe if you like one team more than the other, you're still cheering for them to miss versus just not even including it.
No, I agree. It does feel very unsportsmanlike. That's a great way to put it because you're genuinely rooting for no touchdowns, missed free throws, missed points. Like it does feel very unsportsmanlike. That's very true.
In football, you're rooting for punts, and
right.
That's it.
And who wants that? My
punts,
gosh.
And I guess a few field goals. And in basketball, you're rooting for a low scoring game where everyone's underperforming, even if the defense is playing well. To get to that,
very true. Yeah, no, it's a great point. Okay, well, I'm probably going to sprinkle on Nuggets money line myself, and of course, hammering Jokic's overs, but my sneaky pick probably looking at CB to elevate his game offensively a little bit now that they're playing at home. But BK, of course, keep us posted, and I'm sure people can find on your X account a lot of updates as you head over to Ball Arena, as well as on all things Guerrilla Sports socials. You guys can check out the updates there on what Coach Adelman has to say. And of course, we're going to keep everybody updated tomorrow. Tomorrow is game day. The Nuggets back at home, and we will have a post-game live show, of course, following that. I believe I may be joined by a special guest that goes by the name of Shelby Harris in studio tomorrow evening. And of course, BK, you'll be giving us content from Ball Arena. Again, we have a really fun job. Some nights are more fun than others.
Yeah.
I think game 1 was a little more fun than game 2, but hopefully game 3 gets this Nuggets team back on track. They're definitely capable of that. So BK, hopefully we get some good basketball we can talk about tomorrow.
Yeah, I'd really like them to get back on track. I'd really like them to win this series selfishly because I enjoy covering playoff basketball. Last year I had plans to go to Dallas for the conference finals. Obviously they were going to start the series in Denver, but then go to Dallas. I had my flight picked out. I was going to go in early to see some family, going to go play in a poker tournament with my cousin, who's the best man at my wedding. And then they obviously blow the 20-point lead. And so I ended up staying in town Memorial Day weekend, and my wife and I had one of the biggest fights we've ever had. And I just kept blaming the Nuggets and blaming the team. I'm like, we shouldn't even be having this dumb fight. It's the Nuggets' fault. I said it like 3 times. It didn't make the fight any better, but at least in my head was
I
like,
highly
gosh,
doubt it made the fight better. Yeah.
I should be in Dallas right now. Like, this shouldn't have even happened. But the reason I'm saying that selfishly is because we had booked a family trip. My wife's work schedule is always hectic, so we're going to be out of town, and I'm going to miss game 4 and subsequent games in this round. And so I'm hoping that I'd love to see them win both games here, but that they at least win one of these and extend this series and find a way to advance. I'd rather go to San Francisco. No Steph makes me feel like I'm going to be going back to Minnesota if they can get there, but that's a good problem to have. Easy trip either way, but that means that the Nuggets are back in the conference finals. And so fingers crossed they start on that trajectory by winning tomorrow night and getting back on track, because they did, as Aaron Gordon said, they took home court advantage back. So don't give it up. Win these next 2 games at home.
Yep, absolutely. We would love to see it. All right. Well, you guys, make sure you are subscribed to the Gorilla Sports YouTube and, of course, following us on all things socials. We are going to sign off for now. But, of course, tomorrow night you can anticipate all things content for the Denver Nuggets and a post-game live reaction show as per usual. Anytime the Denver Nuggets are playing in some capacity, I will be making sure you are getting a post-game live reaction show. So this is presented by Trusted American Mortgage. Head to trustedamerican.com to see how they can help you save some money, getting you a better interest rate, lowering your monthly payments. Signing off for now, I'm Liv Moods. That's Brandon Crystal, and we will see you guys tomorrow night, hopefully with nothing but smiles and another dub for Denver. See ya.